Over the past few days, we have been making videos about St. Louis Blues center Robert Thomas. Because, quite frankly, the St. Louis Blues suck this year, and Thomas has emerged as a top center trade target in this NHL market. And when it comes to some of the teams that I cheer for, the Montreal Canadiens, the Detroit Red Wings, we've made ample videos discussing various center options and what Robert Thomas could bring to either of these franchises. It makes sense, right? Oliver Kapanen is the second-line center in Montreal. You've got a rotating cast of guys in Detroit that are essentially second-line center on any given night. Having a nice bona fide number 2 is probably a good idea. But the problem is, it seems like we now know the trade price for Robert Thomas, and this is absolutely huge. If you're a Red Wings fan or Canadiens fan, stick around because we're going to be diving into the latest here. Robert Thomas, 26 years old, 6 feet 207, a right-handed center right wing, signed on till the end of 2031, making $8.125 million a year. He is cost-controlled. His AAV is relatively cheap compared to some of the other top forwards around the NHL. I say top forwards because Robert Thomas has been an 80-point guy the past 2 seasons. This year, he is on pace for a significantly lower amount of points, but still, the guy has developed this reputation as a good face-off winning, playmaking, defensively responsible two-way center, who also happened to be an 86-point scorer in 23-24. Not to mention the fact that he had 8 points in 7 games in the first round for St. Louis last year in the playoffs. Thomas is clutch. Thomas is very capable. And Thomas is playing on a very bad St. Louis team. However, because he is cost-controlled, because St. Louis management understands the value that he brings when he's on a better team than the Blues of 25-26, turns out the trade price is really, really high. Take a look at what Nick Kyprios went out there and wrote about on Sportsnet regarding Robert Thomas. The price is astronomical, Nick Kyprios said, in the vicinity of something equivalent to 3 top 15 first-round picks. Armstrong is looking for cash in prospects and picks. I don't know what team would do that. And that is an absolutely bonkers banana trade price. Not just 3 first-round caliber assets, but 3 top 15 first-round caliber assets. This is absolutely setting the bar high. And, I can understand why St. Louis is doing that. As we had mentioned, cost-controlled center. He's very good when he's on his game. Even this season, the point production's not bad. Yes, it is sub-point per game. It is sub what he was doing the past 2 years. But considering the circumstances, considering the team, considering the lack of production from pretty much everybody in St. Louis, Holloway's in and out of the lineup, Buchnevich is not scoring all too much, Justin Falk is having a decent year, Jordan Kyrou especially, guys getting healthy scratched. Robert Thomas is a victim of the team he is on, and so common realism would say that this guy is probably a lot better than a 50-point player like he is on pace to being at this season's point. So Robert Thomas, if you wanted to take all those factors into consideration, the skill he plays with, the versatility, the responsibility, the role, and the fact that he's got years left on the deal, I can understand why St. Louis is pricing him so high, but not this high. This is really, really high. 3 top 15 first-round caliber assets. The funny part is, when it comes to the Detroit Red Wings and the Montreal Canadiens, this would be a true test of what their GMs want to do and how far they are going to go to try to achieve those things. For example, William LeBlanc went out there and wrote this: Jarofsky, Reinbacher, a first, and Kapanen gets it done. I'd do that, William said. And then you have Chris going out there and saying Rasmussen, Casper, and a time machine for the Blues to take Filip Zadina. That is a crazy set of packages. Firstly, you've got one that's like, okay, that's 4 quality assets, a first, Reinbacher, Kapanen, and Jarowski. And then you're talking about, what, like Marty McFly, Back to the Future, Philip Zadina over here from 2018. Of course, we're kind of poking fun at the idea of Detroit or Montreal making some sort of a trade with 3 top 15 caliber assets for Robert Thomas. But if that doesn't go to show you just how bonkers bananas crazy this trade price is, then I don't know what will. You see, if Stevie Y or Kent Hughes wanted to get this trade done, they really thought that Robert Thomas was their guy, you're probably looking at something like this. Montreal has a bunch of, let's just say, top 15 caliber assets in their organization. I'd say that Demidov is a very highly touted name. Slavkovsky, Hudson, of course. David Reinbacher, technically, by definition, he's a top 15 caliber asset. He was taken 5th overall, but I think his injuries have definitely slowed him down, that him by himself wouldn't get it done. Alexander Jarowski, hey, word around the block was that Montreal was interested in potentially taking him in the first round last year anyway, so you can debate his name. And then the first round pick, Montreal's first round pick, is probably not going to be too high this year, just considering where they are in the NHL standings. Same thing you can say for the Detroit Red Wings. I mean, both the Habs and the Wings are amongst the top 10 teams in the NHL. Those are not top 15 picks, just going out there and saying that. And then you have yourselves Oliver Kapanen. I mean, if you're Montreal, I guess you would trade away the guy who's currently occupying second line C. But Kapanen's really good, though. He's a 40-point second line center as a rookie. I mean, it'd be hard to depart with Oliver Kapanen, in my opinion, at least. Then for the Detroit Red Wings, I mean, we're joking around about Philip Zadina, but Marco Kasper, Rasmussen, you're probably looking at Nate Danielson, maybe even an extra pick if that's not enough. If an NHL team looks at Michael Rasmussen and they say, hey, that guy's not a top 15 caliber asset, that guy's not that good, you're going to have to add more, Stevie Y. Then I honestly would think that it's pretty reasonable to add a little bit more on top of this. Excluding Philip Zadina, of course. I mean, could you imagine if Zadina just panned out to what he was supposed to be? We wouldn't be talking about this. The Wings would have too many good wingers, and they'd be able to make a trade out of surplus. But Zadina now, in the Czech Republic, he's not even on the Olympic team this year, despite being a point-per-game guy in the Swiss League. Excuse me, he's in the Swiss League, not the Czech Republic. My bad. Sorry to Philip Zadina. But with all that said, I want you to let me know your thoughts in the comment section below if you are a Montreal Canadiens fan or a Detroit Red Wings fan. Is Robert Thomas still your guy? Taking a look at this trade price, 3 first-round picks, heck, 3 top 15 caliber first-round pick assets. Does that sound any alarm bells to you? Do you think the price is going to go down as the trade deadline comes and goes? Obviously, there's no trade to be made at this moment, but if Stevie Y and Kent Hughes are working the phones with Armstrong, if St. Louis is really eager to sell off some of their names, this could possibly be a trade idea worth paying attention to. So with that in mind, I want you to let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. Yay or nay, Robert Thomas. I hope you enjoyed this video. And bye.